Hi, everyone. Welcome to another week of Flow Living on Facebook Live. I'm Alisa, the founder of Flow Living and the creator of the MyFlow app, which was just released last week. And some of you were on with me at our inaugural Facebook Live event to launch the app. And I had so much fun with all of you last week, and I'm happy to be back. And today's really exciting because we're going to do kind of like an open office hours. We're going to chat about your questions about PMS and what you can do about it to feel better. So I'm back on the Flow couch with my sparkly pillows, and I'm ready to take your questions. And I'm really looking forward to chatting with you. So if I sound a little extra sexy today, bear with me. I caught my daughter's little cold or big cold, and I was feeling really bad yesterday, but I am much better today, except I just sound, like very sultry. So just enjoy the vocal stylings of a sick Alisa. So I have some things that I want to tell you while we're getting started and while you're queuing up your questions for me. So let me just pull that up so I can keep track of everything, because with the cold I got a little brain fog, so I'm going to use my notes. So, basically today I want to just cover the whole concept of PMS, and I want to really debunk the mythology of PMS. I think we buy into this cultural conditioning that PMS is like a normal part of the deal, and that you're supposed to be not feeling good. The truth is that PMS is an unnecessary hormonal imbalance that can be corrected with food. And I just feel like we should just pause and take that in, because what we are taught is very different. We're taught that your period means that you're destined to suffer, and that you aren't going to feel good for half of the month. Half of every month you're supposed to feel bad. This is not biologically sound, factually based, or even a reasonable thing to suggest. It's just not the case. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to a lot of women. I know I used to suffer tremendously with PMS, and I did feel like a different person half of the month. But when you understand what causes PMS, it's pretty obvious that you can very quickly get rid of it. And get rid of it I have for my own self, and I certainly have helped thousands of women around the world do the same thing, and I want to help you today. So I want you to definitely think of your questions and start typing your questions to me, because I'm going to start answering them shortly. And I also want to say that the MyFlow app is, one of the big things that I wanted to do with MyFlow is take a quantum leap forward, in the world of period tracking. I believe that we need to go beyond just tracking our symptoms. We need to get involved in correcting them, and we can do that with food. So the MyFlow app will empower you to track every single PMS symptom that you have and really start to address that with food. So, you definitely want to download the MyFlow app, myflowtracker.com, if you haven't already. So aside from the fact that PMS doesn't need to happen, the other thing that I think about PMS is that it's an amazing phase of the cycle that we can use to our advantage, right? The luteal phase. I'm going to break down the hormones here in a minute, but the luteal phase is a really powerful phase. It's one of my favorite phases. When your hormones are in balance here, you are unstoppable these 10 to 12 days. And I love that this is the longest phase of the cycle, because it sort of implies that this is almost the most important phase of the cycle for you, because you're going to have the ability to accomplish the most during these 10 to 12 days because of these hormonal changes and how that affects your brain chemistry. So that just should tell you already that you're designed biochemically to be the most productive this half of the month, not the opposite, not what we're told, which is like, oh, forget it. This is the half of the month that you don't get anything done. No, this is the half of the month where you're supposed to get the most done. And it's a really beautiful thing. And then the third thing that I'll say about PMS is that the more you do cycle syncing, the more that becomes part of your life, which the app, MyFlow, will help you do very easily and effortlessly. It's all there for you to check in every day. What's your hormonal weather? What should you eat? What should you do for exercise? Just follow the guides and do what it's telling you to do. The more you cycle sync, PMS is not something that you have to worry about. And I'll just tell a funny story before I start taking all of your questions. So please continue writing them in. Like I said, I used to get really bad PMS, and was just like the stereotypical stuff: the bloating, the breast tenderness, lumps in my breasts, acne, like everywhere. This little dark spot you see up here, my daughter scratched me at night, so I'm still recovering from having children is like sleeping with wild animals. It's really, really interesting. Any moms out there, can I get a little love for that? So anyway, once I addressed the estrogen and progesterone imbalance that was part of the luteal phase that I was having, like anyone with PMS, I was having too much estrogen and not enough progesterone. And that is the formula for PMS. And that is something you can correct with diet. So it's really exciting. So once I got a handle on that, I stopped having PMS. And this has now been like over a decade PMS free. And when I met my now husband, he was, one night out with friends and they were, I guess, boys' night around like a, I don't know, steak dinner, whatever they were doing. And they were all lamenting about eventually talking about their wives and girlfriends and how the PMS really, really is a problem. And, they got to my husband and he's like, yeah, we don't know, she doesn't have PMS. And they were like, come on. And he's like, no, she doesn't. She fixed it. She helps other women fix it. They all went out and bought my book for their partners. It was really funny, but I think that that's still information that a lot of men and women just don't know, that this is something that we can fix. All right, so let me start taking questions because now they're coming in fast and furious. Okay. So the first question I saw was about acne, and then we have something about exhaustion. How do I get more progesterone? Can I scroll here? Yes, I can. Okay, great. Depression. Okay, cool. All right. I don't know what I'm doing here. All right. So, and then we have some postpartum things and depression. Okay. Lots of questions here. I love this. Okay. So let's start with let's start with this question. This is a good one. Why is the luteal phase longer than the others? This is from Laura Grubb. Hi, Laura. You're asking a great first question. I love you too, Svetlana. This is such a fun way to spend Thursdays at 2:00. I'm so glad we started doing this already. So here's the thing about the luteal phase. It's the longest phase because it takes, there's two halves to the phase. There's the first half where estrogen is increasing along with progesterone to build up the lining of the endometrium in the uterus in case there was a conception in the ovulatory phase, to nourish that embryo and to thicken the lining. The progesterone is increasing to build up the actual progesterone inside the corpus luteum in the ovary to continue to secrete more progesterone for the next cycle. Then when there isn't conception, then those hormones slowly start to decrease, both estrogen and progesterone. And when they reach their lowest point, that then triggers the body to shed the lining of the uterus. So it's the longest phase because there's kind of two distinct parts, and it takes time for both of those parts to happen. But also, I think when we look at cycle syncing and the concept of the creation matrix, which I talk a lot about in reference to cycle syncing, which is, how anything is created. When I talk about a matrix, it's just like the structure of how things are brought to life. There's the idea phase, right? which, as you know, if you're using MyFlow, is the follicular phase. Then there's sort of like the interaction, talking about it, being in the community with it, which is the ovulatory phase. And then there's the doing and the harvesting, right? The getting it done, the completing, the putting one foot in front of the other for your idea. And then at the end, there's sort of evaluation and celebrating, how'd it go, and enjoying what you've done. And that whole process, the time that you need to spend the most is in the luteal phase, in the doing. So that's a really, I think, energetically why it's the longest phase as well. But let's go to acne and depression, and then we'll talk about some other questions. So acne, a subject near and dear to my heart. I used to suffer with tremendous cystic acne, and I know that there are some people maybe on this who remember me from high school, and you remember potentially how bad my skin was. Though I tried my best to cover it up with under-eye concealer everywhere on my face. And it got progressively worse, I would say, through high school and then into college, along with my obesity. I was just sort of gaining weight through that whole process. But, I mean, I had it everywhere, here. I remember I used to go to, like, the Clinique counter, like, hoping for, like, the miracle, like, 3-step process to clean up my my skin. Nothing ever worked. And that makes a lot of sense that topical things don't work for acne. Why is acne worse during the PMS, the luteal phase? Let's even just say that from now on, those of us who are now in the flow and in the know, you're not going to call it PMS. You're going to call it the luteal phase, because you're not supposed to have PMS, and that's not a misnomer for the week. What you are in is the luteal phase. If you have PMS, that's a symptom that the luteal phase is malfunctioning, that you are going to get on top of, especially after we talk today. So the acne is caused by a combination of estrogen dominance and testosterone, and our sensitivity to that in the luteal phase. So you want to, again, go back to the cycle syncing basics. If you've been eating in the ovulatory phase the week before a lot of raw fruits and vegetables, especially veggies and like green juices and salads, you're going to have set yourself up, your liver especially, with a lot of selenium, glutathione, vitamin C, that's going to really help metabolize the excess estrogen that you're going to be coming into the following week, which is why we do all this cycle syncing in this way. And then in the luteal phase, you're going to be eating cooked greens and some sweet root vegetables and other things that are going to help you with bowel movements. That's going to affect, skin function, as well as, the bowel and the skin are so connected. You're going to be exercising in a particular way. Check the MyFlow app for the right exercises for that week. That's going to help you eliminate things out of the lymphatic system. You're going to try to take as much pressure off the skin as possible to detox your body, because you're going to be eating properly. And it really is just that simple. Over time, in the course of like 3 cycles, your acne is going to resolve, which is, I know, sounds crazy, especially when you're suffering with acne. But if you get rid of the endocrine disruptors, if you follow the flow protocol and you get rid of the endocrine disruptors, you start cycle syncing, your skin will clear up. I have had the worst kind of acne that anyone could have. I had a combination of like the T-zone, blackheads, whiteheads everywhere, and then cysts. And not just on my face, on my chest and back. And I can tell you that doing this and resolving this will work. So definitely download the MyFlow app and definitely start cycle syncing. And I'm confident that your luteal phase acne will be a thing of the past. And this is true if you're 22 or 38. Teresa, I see you over there. Acne can happen at any time, and especially after 35, when we enter the perimenopausal transition, you can have a resurgence, because naturally in perimenopause you're more vulnerable to developing estrogen dominance and insufficient progesterone as your body stops making as much of these hormones. So at any age, 43, 45, whatever it is, if you're in that perimenopausal transition, I'm in perimenopause, You know, I'll be 40 in the spring, and acne is not, does not have to be part of the deal. PMS does not have to be part of the deal. And this, by the way, the luteal phase and perimenopause. Maybe we'll do a whole thing on the luteal phase and perimenopause, and we'll talk another Facebook Live just about that, because there's so many fun parallels to draw between the two. So if you want that, just let me know in the comments that you do want to do a Facebook Live on that. Okay, so let me go to the depression question. Let me scroll back and see that. Okay. My main PMS symptom is feeling very depressed and beating myself up for everything. What can I do to relieve this? I love this question. So this is also a side effect of not having enough progesterone, and this can cause a sense of anxiety and depression for sure during the luteal phase. So one of the great things about cycle syncing is that you're going to be eating the foods this week that bolster the micronutrients that you need to make more progesterone. So you need B vitamins to make more progesterone, and also to help the adrenals manage the stress that you might be feeling more acutely this week. B vitamins are good for the adrenals as well. So that's why of any time during the cycle, the time to indulge in carbohydrates, Flow Living approved carbohydrates, things like brown rice and quinoa and buckwheat and there are some grains that are more ideal this week than others, but if you were going to like sit down and have one of those big brown rice bowls and like go to town, this would be the week to do it, as well as sweet root vegetables like pumpkin and butternut squash and sweet potatoes. And I would encourage you to have too much. Okay, but what if I'm trying to lose weight or I don't want to gain weight? If you're having depression, if you're having issues with progesterone insufficiency, if you're having any other PMS symptom, that is a sign that you're micronutrient deficient. And I remember, because remember, before I figured out this protocol, I tried every kind of diet. And of course, like so many women, I went through a phase where I didn't have any carbohydrates, hoping that would help me lose the 50 to 60 pounds of weight that I had in excess. And I remember when I finally started experimenting with the cycle syncing approach that I was evolving, I remember the first few cycles where, I literally felt like I could not eat enough brown rice, and I would just have like so much at a serving, like 2 cups at a meal. Like it was just, I was like insatiable for this brown rice thing. That also happened with fats. I remember I went through like a peanut butter and an almond butter and a sun butter phase where I was just like, couldn't get enough of that either. And it was because I was so depleted that I was literally like restocking the bank accounts with these things. And it passed. It passed very quickly. I would say within a month, I was no longer having that kind of thing. But I'm so glad that I indulged. And you too, give in to your cravings just once, because you need them. If any of you have been pregnant, you know the wisdom in indulging your pregnancy cravings, because your body is actually calling out for specific micronutrients. My experience during my pregnancy, I only had one craving the whole pregnancy pretty consistently, because I was so, I had prepped my body for a year to be like fully stocked up with micronutrients. So by the time I was pregnant, I really only had one craving for calcium. And so I did that in the form of goat yogurt a little bit every day, and I found that it was okay. I could tolerate it. Interestingly enough, postpartum, after about the 4th trimester was over, couldn't tolerate it anymore. I went back to my normal can't do the dairy thing. But that was a craving that I honored. My headache that I would have would go immediately away after eating the goat yogurt. So there is a wisdom to your craving, and indulging your cravings in the healthy way can do a lot to stave off depression and anxiety during the luteal phase, because what you need is energy. When you're tired and fatigued, you're causing the adrenal glands to fire more with adrenaline and cortisol to keep you going. And that creates sort of like a vicious cycle with fatigue and mood destabilization. But eating properly and fueling your body properly with foods that are mood stabilizing, fats, leafy greens and whole grains and good carbohydrates really, really can help. Hold on, I'm scrolling, scrolling. Okay. Sore breasts. Yep. That's a good PMS question. So Amber is saying, I have a very healthy period, been off the pill for 10 years. Yay! Good for you. Good for you for taking your body back. But occasionally you'll have extremely sore breasts the week before your period, like really sore, a full feeling when I was nursing. Completely baffles me. Okay. So this could be because, again, I hate to sound like a broken record. It's all the same stuff. It's all this estrogen, progesterone issue. So one of the great things about using the MyFlow tracker, Amber, is that you're going to be able to sort of take a peek at not only what kinds of symptoms you're having, but what you may have skipped out on doing the week before, because there's a little section in the app to track the ways in which you're cycle syncing that week, that phase. So, for example, I would want you to start to track, since it doesn't happen all the time, is that particular first half of the cycle that you have the sore breasts, is that a cycle where there was not enough raw foods consumed during the ovulatory phase, where there was too much sugar and caffeine consumed that week before or 2 weeks before? Has sleep been off? What could be, I want you to start thinking about what are the root causes this cycle, since it's not a chronic problem. I want you to become your own health investigator and advocate for your breast well-being, right? And check in and see what is it that happened. Because if you can isolate the thing that happened, then all you have to do is not do it or do the antidote to it, like, have less caffeine or have more raw fruits. And then if that starts to resolve the issue, then there's your answer. And you notice that my first suggestion is not to suggest a supplement, which is what everybody wants to do, is like, take a supplement, that'll make you better. But that's like a drop in the bucket. And really what we want you to do is go figure out what is causing that, because it's usually some sort of diet and lifestyle correlation. And if you can identify that, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money, dealing with like supplements that are not going to do the trick. Isn't that nice? We don't have to take supplements all the time, only occasionally. Let me know if that makes you happy. Okay, let's see. Okay, cramps. Yeah, cramps before your period. That's an issue. It's like on the cusp. Is it really the luteal phase? Is it the menstrual phase? Kind of a conversation. We'll tackle it here. This is also a great one because this is a specific food thing that is so easy to tackle. Cramps are caused by one hormone called PGE2, prostaglandin number 2. There are 3 of them. 2 of them control uterine relaxation. One of them, PGE2, is the only one responsible for uterine contraction. If you are making too much PGE2, you will have cramps. I used to have debilitating cramps. I remember one time I was at my boyfriend's apartment, and I thought it felt like I was in labor. And now having gone through labor, it was like labor. There was contractions and then a pause and then it was like I had to walk around. I was in active labor one cycle. So it's why am I making all this PGE2? How can I undo it? It comes down to the fats that you're eating. If you are eating too much vegetable fats, specifically canola oil, but all of the vegetable-based fats are pretty toxic. I think just like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to make all the right health predictions, but I've been pretty accurate over the years. And just like we've come to realize that the low-fat diet that was promoted in the 80s was really detrimental for people's metabolism, I think we're going to also see in the near future that vegetable oils are going to be something that is looked back on as like a big, nutritional mistake that we made. You want to be eating more good quality fats like coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, But aren't these vegetable fats? Yes, but these are a special kind, and these will help you make more of the PGE1 and 3 that cause uterine relaxation. So you want to stay away from, you know, these types of processed oils, and unfortunately they're in every snack food. I've only found one potato chip I can give my family, and I'm happy to share that brand with you. It's called Jackson's Honest potato chips. They make every purple, sweet potato, sea salt. I think they have a vinegar and a barbecue, but they make their potato chips in coconut oil. I mean, brilliant and delicious, and doesn't taste like coconut, and it's a food you can really feel good about eating while you're having cravings during PMS. So I would say that, Rochelle, it's really about changing your fats and looking. It's pretty much everywhere. Check your hummus. Is there canola oil in that? If you can go 1 to 2 months without eating any canola oil, I'm pretty confident your cramps are going to go away altogether. Easy, right? Okay, we got more questions coming in. Tell us something about, means I'm just cramps. Okay. All right. Tell us something about headaches. Yeah, every time you're ovulating and 3 or 4 days before your period. So this kind of headache pattern has to do with shifts in estrogen and how that's affecting the brain chemistry, and it can also affect the dilation of blood vessels. So this is kind of like the migraine thing too. So what can I say here is that really what's going to be important for you is really working on your estrogen metabolism. And in your case, I would say a combination of eating the foods that are good for estrogen metabolism across the cycle syncing, plan, but potentially also during these few days where you are pretty able to predict a headache, to consider taking something extra like a supplement like DIM or milk thistle to help, and then also to experiment with something like ginkgo biloba to see if that helps with promoting blood flow and having that all be relaxing those blood vessels as well. I would experiment with that and keep me posted on how you're doing, but that's been what I've seen work pretty well in the past. But it is like a type of estrogen sensitivity that you're having. Okay, hold on. We've got some questions about sugar. I'm scrolling here. Off the pill. So someone's talking about their bleed. We'll do a whole Facebook Live on actual bleeding issues. We're gonna stick with PMS, but I'll just say, if you're having clots while you're menstruating, that's a sign of estrogen dominance, and there's more work for you to do to help with that. So I would definitely download the MyFlow app and start really getting. It's not enough for you to just eat gluten and dairy free. But you're going to have to start cycle syncing to really resolve that issue. Oh, how interesting. Great question, Hannah. From the UK, wondering if you ever had experience with someone suffering from absent periods only in the winter. I love this question. This can be a real phenomenon. And why is that? Because sunlight, the shifts between being exposed to sunlight and being exposed to darkness, total darkness and total daylight hours, is what triggers melatonin to be produced. And that melatonin is a trigger to promote ovulatory regulation, which kicks off the whole, keeping the cycle regular. So it isn't so much that there's less daylight. I think the issue is probably more complex than that, Hannah, that you may be exposed to artificial lighting for longer periods of time, and everyone's being exposed to more of this blue light from devices, tablets, computers, phones. This blue light and artificial lighting, and not sleeping in total darkness, not having that sort of bright sunlight, total darkness kind of shift in your day, that actually can, in concert really stop a period. And I think we're going to see more of that, not just happening in winter, but in general, especially for younger children who are getting hooked into devices sooner. So for moms who are watching this Facebook live feed, I would say think very carefully about your daughter's device exposure. You know, I already have, so we don't have a TV in the house. We don't do devices. My daughter doesn't watch any of that kind of stuff. And it's really important that you consider that carefully. If your daughter is exposed to technology, you want to make sure that she's exposed as little as possible. And then there's also a whole thing about, these orange glasses you can wear to block out the blue light. You can install stuff, like investigate that, because that can really be helpful if you're, in addition. And then as much as you can, get out in the day and get some sun, and then sleep in total darkness. And that should start helping with that. Okay. Okay, PMDD and severe exhaustion. I love that question because we're talking about PMS. So PMDD is an interesting phenomenon because it really shows the interplay that I think, I don't know why we're not talking about more. I'm a big fan. I mean, the whole cycle syncing concept is based on the fact that our brain chemistry is so profoundly affected by our hormones each week of the cycle. And PMDD, is simply just sort of on the spectrum of that experience. But we treat it like it's some separate thing, like, oh, you've got PMDD, but really it's just part of a PMS spectrum. And I think it also highlights really well the connection between our moods and our hormones, and that these are real phenomenon, as opposed to some, how it is. I mean, gosh, for centuries, women we've been diagnosed with hysteria, and, you're just being nuts, and you're hormonal, and you need this and that, and, women have been over-medicated. So there are a couple of books that I think, one in particular that I think is really groundbreaking, important, and very relevant for those of you who have PMDD or any mental health issue. And it's by a dear friend and colleague of mine, Dr. Kelly Brogan. And it's a book called A Mind of Your Own. And Kelly is I think it's Harvard or Yale trained psychiatrist, MD, who after, many years in practice prescribing medications like antidepressants and things for women with everything from PMDD to other mental health issues, came to the conclusion through her own research that that doesn't actually help, and that diet is the solution. So you have another person sort of backing up what we're doing here at Flow Living, which is that food is the way. And I am very confident, Emily, that if you're struggling with PMDD and you start cycle syncing, that you're going to feel a very profound shift in your mood. And that exhaustion, could be a combination of the adrenal stuff, which will exacerbate feelings of depression and anxiety. So if your adrenals and you've got this cortisol and adrenaline sort of talking to your brain chemistry, interacting with estrogen and progesterone, moving throughout the cycle, that can make you very susceptible to having depression. I myself, again, because I had PCOS, it's like I've had every possible type of symptom that you could experience, and one of them was extreme exhaustion and extreme depression. And so the exhaustion thing, I know it's like, is it just that you're tired, or is it part of the depression? And it's a fine line. So I would say if you can start really giving the cycle syncing a try, that you will see results. And I'm really proud of you for asking the question, because a lot of people, I don't know why, I don't want to talk about it, but it's all part of the same PMS spectrum, and I don't think we should treat it as something separate. It's just our body PMS in general, if we've learned anything today, is that your symptoms are all caused by kind of the same stuff. This imbalance of our hormones that are caused by micronutrient deficiency. We're not eating in a way that supports our amazing female body. And we need to nourish her properly. And there is a right way to do that. And there is a way to do that that's in alignment with the hormones of your cycle. And that's it. It's not more complicated than that. You don't have to go spot treat. Oh, I got to spot treat my zits. And you got to eat for your body. And your body wants you to do that in a particular way. And that's what my work is all about. I don't even know what time it is. Okay, we have like a few more minutes. I'll hang a little bit longer. I know we're only supposed to do like 20 minutes on Facebook Live or whatever the rule is, but we'll do a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, so glad so many of you have got the app. Thank you for downloading the app, and thank you for sharing it with your friends. I know a lot of you are posting on Facebook, to tell your communities about the app. Please continue to do that. I need your help to get the word out about MyFlow. So if you can just drop a little note like I love this app and then put myflowtracker.com, that'll be enough. Thank you, and thank you for that. Okay. I'm looking for a good PMS question. Okay, this is a good one. Fermented veggies, how much to eat? And does it hurt their nutritional value to heat them up or no? Do not heat up your fermented veggies. You'll kill all the good bacteria. Don't do it. Just eat them cold out of the fridge. If you want them to be like a little warmer, you can set them out, 15 minutes before you're going to eat, and like on a plate, you're serving of them, and let them come a little bit to room temperature. But no, they're meant to be cool because that's how the bacteria will continue to thrive. Okay. Oh, good. Someone already answered that question. Good, Lauren. Good job. I'm scrolling. Oh, what kinds of fish do I order at a sushi bar? And what's my take on organic soy? Hey, don't eat sushi. No. Too much risk for pathogenic invasion. There's CNN just put out this has been going on for years, but now all salmon that's being caught, even wild Alaskan salmon, has this very very not fun Japanese tapeworm, very different from the usual tapeworm, and it's more difficult to treat. So consuming raw or undercooked fish in any circumstance is not worth the potential risk for you to develop other things. That's me. So I cook my protein. I don't do raw protein. That's me. But if you were gonna eat sushi, I'm not sure which fish I could safely recommend. I mean, it's been very controversial. The white fish. There's been reports of that's not actually the fish that they're claiming it is. Tuna, of course, is full of mercury. Salmon's got the tapeworms. I mean, I don't know. I can't safely recommend a fish to you is unfortunately the situation. So I'm sorry. Organic soy, I can say is good. Okay. Okay, PMS. Another question about that from Elena. I feel like I want to sleep all day. I can't focus on my work. I try to avoid sugar, sweets in general, meat, and all junk food, especially that week, but basically all cycle long. I also stopped drinking alcohol recently. Any advice? My diet includes olive oil, avocado, nuts, oats, some fruit and veggies, but a lot of bread, pasta. Got it. Okay. All right. So the fatigue thing is, I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts here to investigate for yourself. Because really, above all things, I'm a woman just like you who struggled with hormonal issues for a decade of my life that really took me out of the game of my life. And I'm really on a mission to help you become a woman like me who fully understands every signal that her body is sending her and knows exactly how to respond in real time with food and lifestyle changes. I want you to be empowered to take that right action today, whatever it is that you need, because it's always changing. So I just want to say that above all things, I'm here to train you to be your own health investigative, person. Okay, the fatigue thing could be that your adrenals are pushed to the max. You could be dealing with a lot of stress in your life. You could be not sleeping. You could have poor sleep hygiene, for example, if you're not sleeping, if you're not getting to sleep between 10 and 11 o'clock at night, then we know already that's going to shift melatonin production, and it's going to affect adrenal and blood sugar, and could be the just accumulation of that. Just that could be the fatigue. And then during the luteal phase, because of a little estrogen dominance, you're going to feel it more profoundly. So what's the solution? Should you drink coffee during your luteal phase, or should you work on your sleep hygiene? You see where I'm going with that? So there's that. The fatigue could also be your body trying to give you a message that something about the way that you're organizing your life is not sustainable, and your body is crying out for you to make a change. I can speak personally to this, actually, having just gone through an app launch, and all the work that's been put into that, and now I'm a mom, and I run a company, an international company. I mean, it's crazy. I have 3 jobs, and self-care being my 3rd job. It really dawned on me that that it's time to shift and even more deeply commit to prioritizing my time and living in a more sustainable way. So sometimes it's as simple as your body's giving you a symptom because it's intuitively feeling that things need to change, but the mind is not ready to address that, right? So the body helps because the mind is not so helpful in my experience for these types of things. The body is really the leader when it comes to giving you that information. So there's that. It could be that you're not eating enough calories during the day. You could be so focused on things that you're not eating, and then you're not eating enough nutrients, not enough carbohydrates during that week. You're not getting enough B vitamins for energy. You could be depleted in your B vitamins. I mean, it could be that. And you could just, by taking a B vitamin complex, could get a lot more energy. Even just a B12 could help you that week. The brain fog is indicative of a little estrogen dominance. So again, what are you doing with greens? How are your bowel movements? There's so many things to look at. But I would say, if you can start with trying to cycle sync this week the foods that are going to help you feel better, and getting more rest and changing your exercise so you're not taxing your adrenals, you're going to start to see less of that need to sleep all day. That is definitely a cry for a change of some sort. So I think it's an important symptom to pay attention to. And now it should be 100% of your focus to try to understand why it's happening and start doing the experiments every month. What can you do to resolve it over the next 2 to 3 cycles? And you'll see that you can. 100%. That's something that can definitely go away. Kennelly, I love that. Adding the nutrient of pleasure. Yes, definitely check out the Feminine Energy Masterclass. We will start talking more about those types of things, but pleasure and having a diet, a lifestyle diet that includes, just making sure you're including your joy and your pleasure in your day is a really important nutrient. I mean, we're women. We are creative, juicy, delicious women who need a lot of different stimulation. And to put yourself into this, everything has to be the same 24/7, that's trying to squeeze your wonderful, expansive 28-day cycle into a male circadian rhythm, and it just makes us sick and miserable and kind of nuts. So if that's happening, again, cycle syncing is the solution. It's the way out. because it's really about, it's the way out of the, dare I say, it's the way out of the patriarchy, and it's the way into your body and into living in a way that is about embodying your true nature, and your true nature is cyclical. Okay, I think I have time for like one more question, so let me see if I can find a good one. I love you guys too. Thank you for the hearts. Okay, here's a good question. Does the body manage to make more progesterone by following the cycle-based diet? Yes, yes, yes. That's the whole point, is to give your body all these, a wide range of micronutrients that really help you make, not just break down estrogen efficiently, but also make more of the hormones that your body needs, not just progesterone, but also supporting the thyroid, supporting the adrenals, supporting insulin, supporting all the hormones that your body makes. That's the whole purpose of cycle syncing, is to just really nourish your body in real time in the ways that it needs. And I know that this is like, seems like such a new thing to do, but I think that it just feels more like a really huge oversight that no one has really said that, you know, we have these hormonal patterns, these hormonal phases, and they need specific care each week. I think I don't know why. Well, having talked to so many women now that are heading up research departments at major universities, I know why that's been a grand oversight, because it's only been lately that there are women heading up major research departments at big universities. So hopefully in the future we'll see more things that are coming out in support of this work. But in the meantime, there's no reason why you can't benefit from starting the cycle syncing process in your own life, not just because it's going to end symptoms. And I'm gonna sort of wrap up this conversation with this, that it isn't just about not having symptoms. I mean, I'm not really motivated by like eating broccoli because it's good for me and, you know, it's going to break down my estrogen. Like, that's good. I'm happy that it does that. And I'm grateful that I have that medicine, of broccoli medicine, you know. But I do it because I want to be the fullest expression of myself. I want to create things in my life. I want to live as fully as I can, but in a sustainable way. You know, I don't want to push myself to the point where I'm breaking down, but I want to try to like squeeze out all the juice and the time that I have this lifetime to like live and express my unique perspective and talents and enjoy things, and take care of myself and live my life. And I think that that's really fundamentally what we're all craving. And I feel like right now, this year especially, and again, I think it's because there are more women in the wellness community running things. I think we're having a much needed reaction, backlash to this trend in wellness of like extremes, extreme detoxes and extreme fitness and extreme whatevers. And I think that what we all are craving, because we are all under extreme stress from everything that's happening in the technological age that does not support, you know, sort of just being a human being, and our needs. I think that, you know, we're looking for a way to deeply nourish and recharge as an important part of wellness. And I think that it's so great that that's starting to happen. I mean, I see that in like, instead of people going to boot camp, people are going to like stretching classes, you know, like using foam rollers and things, like more restorative yoga. Yin yoga is becoming popular. If you haven't discovered yin yoga, do a Google search. There's so many great things on YouTube you can find, or Yoga Glow. But you know, I think people are really women especially, because again, we're the main consumer of the wellness industry. I think we need to be nourished. And I think that the whole reason why I needed a structure for my life that included my body and its needs, and why cycle syncing ultimately is the structure by which I organize everything in my life, is because it makes sure, it protects me from getting sucked into the technological, everything has to be done right now lifestyle. It ensures that I don't get sucked into the 24-hour male circadian mindset of planning things. And it makes sure that I leave myself maximum room to have not only self-care, but pleasure and creative expression, so that I do feel like I'm living my life. And that's why fundamentally I want to take care of this wild and precious body of mine, because I want to enjoy and participate and be in the game. And I think that's what you all want too, because getting out of suffering is just the first step to really embracing your full power. So I hope we've learned a lot about PMS today. Most importantly, that we shouldn't be having it. We should be looking at it as a symptom that makes sure that we can take the right action with diet and lifestyle. That you have the great tool on myflowtracker.com to help you. This app will help you to keep track of all the things that are happening. And that you have cycle syncing as a concept that is not only just what you lean into to take care of your symptoms and resolve your symptoms, but it's really about stepping into the greater potential of you and having a sustainable system and structure for managing all the things that you have interest to do in a way that sustains you and nourishes you and doesn't deplete you and stress you out and leave you burnt out. And I think that we need that more than ever, because the world needs women more than ever. I think that's enough said. All right, well, this was so much fun. Thank you for spending this time with me today on the Flow Living Facebook Live. And if you haven't downloaded the app, please go to myflowtracker.com and download it, and share with your friends. And I'll be back next Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and every Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, to talk about another fun topic and answer your questions and spend the time with you. And I'm so honored that you spent some time with me, and I'm looking forward to our next chat. Until then, take really good care of you, sending love to your ovaries around the world. Talk to you later.